I love gaming so much.
Video games are a massive part of my life. There's just so much history and art that goes into them. I love playing games old and new, from Atari, Sega, Nintendo, and Intellivision, to PlayStation, Xbox, Nintendo Switch, and even my gaming tower.
It's just too hard for me to imagine my life without gaming. I mean, look around my room, it's a retro haven. But you'll notice a certain theme around my room, and I attribute that to my childhood favourite game, and the one franchise that actually got me into gaming as a whole, Sonic the Hedgehog. Love him or hate him, you can't deny that without Sonic the Hedgehog, gaming wouldn't be like it was today. Many games have taken inspiration from him. Again, if there was no Sonic, there'd be no console wars, there'd be no competition for Mario and Nintendo. Now, of course, we can go into that as much as we want, but there is one game that I always return to time and time again, and before Sonic Mania came around, it was my favourite Sonic game of all time, because of the exploration, the creativity, and just the overall nostalgia factor of the game, Sonic Adventure.
Sonic the Hedgehog was a juggernaut in the 2D gaming world since its inception by Yuji Naka and Naoto Oshima before its release on the 23rd June 1991, where he busted TV transmissions and infected brainwaves with the power of blast processing on the Sega Mega Drive, Genesis in America. Sega proved since Sonic's inception to be a trailblazer in the gaming market, giving Nintendo's Mario its real first feeling of pressure from a competitor in the console wars. Despite Sonic's success and appeal, however, Sonic's race to the top wasn't without its hurdles, with the biggest obstacle being his transition into the world of 3D gaming. Mario and Crash Bandicoot set up the standard for 3D gaming to expand on, and while Sega was struggling to keep up with the difficult to understand processing power of its Saturn, Sonic was having his own troubles morphing into 3D, with Sonic Extreme flopping and never being released to the public due to differing views, in-game issues, and time restraints. And no, Sonic 3D on the Mega Drive isn't real 3D, it's isometric. Unless you count the Saturn re-release which incorporated 3D special stages. Sonic R was the first full console Sonic game, but was considered a commercial disaster, but in time has become a Sonic fan's guilty pleasure. As for Sonic Jam, a compilation of the first 3 games on Mega Drive, well 4 if you count Sonic and Knuckles, there were glimpses of what could have been on the Saturn. Then came the Dreamcast, a console which I actually grew up with. Once the original Sonic team was reformed, they got to work, utilising all of their skills possible, reimagining the blue blur to fit the modern times and regain that cool attitude factor that was lost, and travelling to research landscapes and features to be added. Finally, the world was treated to a true 3D Sonic experience in Sonic Adventure on the 23rd of December 1998. Well, the world of Japan at least, the rest of the world would have to wait. But it was well worth it. The game was a success and reintroduced the blue dude with attitude to an old audience and introduced him to a new audience, revitalizing Sega in the game industry. If only it would have lasted. What could have been of the Dreamcast if given a stronger fighting chance? Now, the flop of the Dreamcast isn't blamed on the games themselves, or the lack of. The flop comes from strengthened competition in the world of gaming, especially in the West from the PlayStation 2. But I've said too much already. It's time to get into the game and wrap our brains around Sonic Adventure. Damn, just listen to that sick track. The theme for this game is produced by Crush40, fronted by singer Johnny Gioeli and Sega's very own sound expert Jun Tsunui. In fact, it's Tsunui himself that's heavily involved in the music for the games. Trust me, there's no truer experience than hearing Crush40 live. But more about the music later. At the moment, you can only play as Sonic, which is fitting, but as you progress in the story, you unlock more characters to play later on. The characters you can play as are Sonic, obviously, Tails, Knuckles, Amy Rose, formerly Rosie the Rascal, and 2 new characters in E102 Gamma and Big the Cat.
Now don't worry, I'll go into why I hate this guy later on.
And all of them have unique playing styles and 6 different stories to play from, all of them tying into each other in a very unique way. Now, prepare yourself, because the game's story is insane. Sonic Adventure takes place in a city called Station Square, the metropolis of this world. This is where we see Sonic bouncing around, doing his regular stuff.
Oh yeah! This is happening!
Saying obscure lines like that. But, you know, hip. For the kids. The city folk don't even seem fazed by his presence. Oh hey there, obscure colourful creature from another world. What can I get for you today? A chili dog? Sure! Sonic sees a commotion after police chase down a water blob creature called Chaos and decides to fight him. Sonic wins, Chaos escapes, cut to next day. After recovering a jet-lagged Tails from his crash-landed prototype plane, Sonic and Tails embark on a journey for the 7 Chaos Emeralds, after some very necessary exposition.
I just happened to find one of the 7 emeralds during one of my test fights. This thing's got unlimited power, you know. So I figured, why not use it to power my plane?
Some of the most powerful crystals in gaming history, relegated to battery power for an airplane. What? Sonic hops a train to the Mystic Ruins where Tails has set up shop, only to be confronted by Dr. Robotnik, or as he's called, Eggman. Oh, by the way, this game is the last game he's referred to as Robotnik. And that's really sad to me, because that's the name I grew up with and became accustomed to since childhood. But apparently, he's always been called Eggman in Japan. Anyway, bing bang wallop, Sonic and Tails take down our resident fiend where Eggman swipes the emerald, which Tails is very obviously holding out, ready for anyone to mug him. Robotnik feeds the emerald to Chaos, which is that blobby creature from before, whom he summons. Wait, now it's fucking food? Seriously, are these the most multi-purpose things in the universe or what? Here we learn what Robotnik really wants from Chaos, and the emeralds for that matter.
Together, we'll destroy Station Square. On its ruins, I'll build Robotnik Land, the ultimate city, where I will rule it all.
So it's a pretty typical Sonic game from the get-go. Gather the emeralds, stop Robotnik, and save the city. Simple, sweet, and straight to the point. So far. It's a game of hot potato with the emeralds until eventually you run into Knuckles, who has had enough of Sonic's bullshit and goes for the kill?
Something bugging you?
Wait. Let's back up here. See, Knuckles is sitting on Angel Island guarding the Master Emerald. Of course, when Chaos flies in and attacks Knuckles and destroys the emerald before Knuckles has a chance to fight back. The island falls into the ocean and Knuckles has to embark on a journey to collect the sharded pieces of the Master Emerald to restore the island back into the sky. Along his journey, he runs into Robotnik where he encounters Chaos, is fed alive by Robotnik on Sonic collecting the emerald pieces and leading us back to where the two frenemies have a scuffle before losing their emeralds, which Robotnik snatches right from under them, leading to even more food for Chaos, and a very obscure transformation.
Oh, he transformed again!
That is one ugly fish. If we hit him too hard, we'll make some chips and the Chaos Emeralds. Oh my god. Robotnik makes his escape in his newly built oversized ox tongue,
The egg carrier!
Sonic and Tails split from Knuckles to take flight into the tornado, only to be blasted out of the sky, separating the two. Sonic tries to gather his bearings and in turn runs into Amy, who has the obscurest request. Protect the bird.
Listen, this birdie seems to be in trouble, so you need to be his bodyguard for a while.
You must be kidding!
Oh yeah, it's just the weirdest thing. Turns out Amy was just out shopping when the egg carrier flied over and she suddenly is hunted down by a creepy stalker robot called Zero. Eventually, it comes to a head as Sonic chases Amy down to the Mystic Ruins where she is being held captive and taken into the egg carrier to be very poorly interrogated by Gamma, who it turns out is a creation by Robotnik. No duh! And one of 5 of a series of robots all created in the game. It was in fact Gamma who found a weird-tailed frog in Emerald Coast where Big just fished him out. If you think I'm going to go into detail about Big's story, forget it. He's not important. Seriously, his story's based around fishing. That's it. Actually, it turns out the reason for this interaction is that the locket the bird is carrying contains a Chaos Emerald. Anyway, after a back and forth, the bird somehow gets through the Gamma and Gamma frees the duo, allowing them to escape. From there, Amy rendezvous with Sonic and Tails on top, who managed to make it to the egg carrier. Turns out Tails' story is about him trying to become a stronger person and be as brave as Sonic. Turns out Robotnik is waiting to take the emerald away from the locket. After a back and forth with Gamma, the egg carrier shakes. As it turns out, the ship is losing altitude, causing the trio to split again, leaving Sonic to meet up with Knuckles again to take on Chaos again. And oh, Big's there too. Of course he would be shoehorned in there somewhere. After Sonic takes a whack at Chaos 6, Knuckles has his own turn and destroys Chaos once and for all. Or so we thought. And after all that, Knuckles finally returns to Angel Island and restores the Master Emerald and in essence the island back to the sky. Big escapes the exploding egg carrier in the tornado too and lives happily ever after with Froggy who no longer has a tail, so whatever. Tails flies Amy to safety where he runs into a disgruntled Robotnik in deep plotting. Tails has to stand up to Robotnik and with a couple of spin attacks takes him down, becoming a hero to the people of Station Square, conquering his challenge to be as brave as Sonic and actually providing a decent story, believing yourself and pushing past your abilities. Sonic falls to his death. Nah, just kidding, death doesn't come until later on. Because of gaming logic though, he survives. He enters a tomb to discover more about the mystery of chaos from the murals on the walls, where he enters this weird flashback and witnesses a shrine being lit on fire. That's pretty dark. Turns out all the characters enter flashback dreams from this ball of light, and they all relate back to the origin of chaos and the emeralds, and an Echidna tribe. After that, Sonic chases after Robotnik and takes him down once and for all. Gamma, after Amy's heart-to-heart, has an epiphany that Robotnik is really the bad guy and he needs to rescue his friends. I can kinda get behind this. Under each of his creation is still the heart, soul, and brain, of each creature that's captured, and Gamma feels a need to free them by destroying his brethren robots, leading up to a final fight with E101 Beta, whom after being defeated, whacks Gamma and blows up, before Gamma short-circuits and blows up, freeing the two birds from each robot. After splitting from Tails, Amy decides to become a strong, independent woman just so she can impress Sonic. On the egg carrier, she finds the bird's family, only to be confronted by Zero, who injures Amy's bird friend, which enrages her, and she unleashes a strong attack leading to a fight to destroy Zero, once and for all. Thankfully the bird is okay and they all fly off into the sunset. Ugh. I have a headache. But what does all of that nonsense and brain-rattling gibberish have to do with the Chaos Emeralds, the flashbacks, and Chaos himself? Well, let's move on to the final story, because this is where it all finally streamlines. You see, it turns out Chaos is the guardian of these cute creatures introduced into this game, known as Chao. Chao live among the Echidna tribe as far as I can gather, and Chaos befriends this girl Echidna in the tribe, named Takara, as she guards the Master Emerald, presumably anyway. She's in disagreement with her father, the leader of the tribe, as he wants to harness the Emerald's power for, well, power. What else? This leads to a standoff between the two, where the king leads his men to charge after the emeralds, inadvertently knocking over his daughter and presumably killing the Chao in the process. This enrages Chaos, and he's out for blood, so attacks the tribe and destroys the shrine, leading to the fiery scene from earlier. Now we're up to speed, let's move on. Sonic is chillaxing after knocking off Robotnik when all of a sudden Tails comes running up to warn Sonic that Angel Island has once again fallen. Sonic and Tails rush over to find Knuckles and Robotnik on the floor, where Sonic is entered into a flashback and sees the onslaught of innocent lives. This is where Takara reads out the ritual to unleash the Emerald's power.
The 7 emeralds are the servers. Chaos is power enriched by the heart. The controller serves to unify the chaos.
Back in the real world, Sonic and company try to find the Emerald in the crushed tornado. But it's too late. Chaos has snatched it and all the other emeralds too, finally becoming the perfect Chaos Beast and destroying Station Square's sewage system and in turn flooding the city. Here, Takara makes her presence known from the Ball of Light for the first time and they agree that something has to be done to stop Chaos. Takara wants to seal Chaos back in the Master Emerald to stop his assault, but Sonic wants to stop his rage from unleashing because he'll still be angry on the inside even if he is imprisoned. All the heroes, and apparently Big 2, rendezvous with Nega Emeralds, and they all come together to utilize whatever power is still within them. Sonic, managing to harness the positive energy, becomes Super Sonic, takes on the mighty Perfect Chaos, and after a hard-fought battle with some fitting rock and roll, Perfect Chaos is finally defeated. And neutralized? From that fight? Huh. I guess the Iron Sonic
Make him humble.
Takara, grateful, thanks the heroes, and the pair fly off into the sunshine, and the day is set. Oh, never mind.
All's well that ends well, right?
If you call the city being completely flooded a good ending, Tails, you're a fucking idiot. People died, families.
in that flood, and all you can say is that everything turned out A-okay.
What the fuck are you smoking?
So yeah, on the whole, what a clusterfuck. Each individual story is good enough, they all have their own purpose for character development and exploration, excluding some individuals, but because of how they're pieced together, it just feels like... Okay, well think of a really bad jigsaw puzzle, and you try to put it together, and it's not complete. That's why you don't buy jigsaw puzzles from a charity shop. The stories don't fit together organically. The end result is very tense and suspenseful, but the lead up just gave me a migraine. I had to go over this script so many times to simplify it in fear of making the review too long, and even then, I don't think I could go any further than 8 pages out of fear of context being lost. It's not like Sonic should need a strong story anyway. In most cases, all you want to do is run and jump, right? That's what he's best known for, especially in the Mega Drive days. But hey, I'll give them this. It's still a valiant effort with a storyline, and at least it was an original concept for its time. Well, that was crazy. Let's move on to something slightly easier to understand. The gameplay. Because this game is totally different from the 2D games, the developers had to find a way to spice up the gameplay so that there's some variety. As I mentioned, each character has 6 different playing styles, varying the gameplay in each level in a different way. Each character can explore Station Square, Mystic Ruins and Egg Carrier in the hub world. Here you can re-enter levels that each character can access, but they have free reign to go anywhere they want in the hub. You can go far and explore to your heart's content. Actually, the exploration allows for opportunities to discover emblems and enter the Chow Garden, where you can raise your own Chow and enter them in races. It's cute, and a really fun way to add some replay value to the game. It's not perfect, it's definitely done much better in later games, but it's there for variety. Even some minigames can be accessed, like the race course in Twinkle Park. Basics out of the way, let's move on to the main gameplay of each character. Sonic's gameplay is all about going from point A to point B. What more can you say? Here you get the most gameplay and story, and you can enter all the main levels, while excluding Hot Shelter. There are 11 action stages in the game, and each character has a different path and mission allocated to them to further their story. With Sonic, you get what you expect from the Blue Blur. And I'll even say it's really fun, especially with the different ways you can get around in these vast levels. It's fluid and fast paced, but it does slow down at points to allow for some proper platforming. Sadly, some of it can come off as a bit janky in areas, probably very glitchy too, so be warned when playing this. It's not completely game breaking, it's just a bit annoying. Also, because of its 3D aspect, it's much easier to fall into pits than in a 2D game, so if you rush, you'll end up falling to your death. There's more opportunities to recover, but this is dependent on your abilities. Sonic can use a number of different moves: the spin dash for a burst of speed, the light speed dash to travel across rings, the homing attack obviously, and the ancient light where he can use the light speed dash as a light speed attack as well. Too bad it's only used for in Chaos 6's fight or Final Egg as a piss take. You collect these special power-ups and additional power-ups by finding them scattered around in the world, and all the characters have their own unique ones. Honestly, if you wear shoes you found in a sewer, you're a total scav mate. Some are crucial to the game's development, others are purely cosmetic. The mixture is actually decent because it expands your playing possibilities when you discover them. Tails plays sort of the same, but instead of the spin dash, all he can do is roll. Well, he can fly, but it's not great. He sort of slowly lifts up, but then flops to the ground faster. He could use his tails as a weapon, which is really cool though. Most of the time you'll find you won't use it much, but when you get a hold of this really cool item called the Rhythm Badge, you can do this really cool spinning attack, which temporarily turns Tails into a... Tails' levels involve racing Sonic to the Emerald or a capsule. In Speed Highway, he races Robotnik. Tails can only access 5 levels, which makes the story shorter than Sonic's by half, especially since he only races in one segment of each level, cutting the story back down. Knuckles' story is revolved around finding 3 shards of the Master Emerald in each level, which again is 5, one segment for each level. Like a Super Saiyan, Knuckles can sense the presence of the emeralds, which is indicated by the radars in the bottom of the screen, no need for any special devices. In this game, it's actually not too bad and much easier to navigate than the sequel game, Sonic Adventure 2, but that's another review for another day. thanks to the smaller levels, the job of finding them is less tedious. As for his abilities, he can glide along distances to get far, dig underneath with his shovel claw, climb walls to gain access to higher places, and he can punch. The punching ends up being useless in some points, as you can still jump into enemies or glide onto them, unless you really need that quick attack. There's also this one power up where if he grabs it, it basically gives him yellow gloves, but if he punches once he gets this beam of light and near to enemies he can go for rapid attack. It's really useful in certain situations again. Takara is on hand to guide you their way. Oh Knuckles, you have found the queen! Sorry. Amy can't curl into a ball or do a spinning jump, so instead she utilizes her Pico hammer to destroy enemies and push buttons. She is so painfully slow! Sure, you can use the hammer for a speed boost, but it doesn't do much, and especially for timed emblem challenges is a real weight dragging you down. She could do the sort of hammer stuff you expect a girl to do with an oversized hammer. Acrobatics, apparently. She can only access 3 levels, and they all revolve around getting from point A to point B, solving puzzles along the way, and avoiding being captured by Zero. You'll fall asleep on this one, trust me. Gamma's gameplay is by far the most interesting. It's kind of like a third-person shooter, but not really a third-person shooter, if that makes sense. Actually, imagine it like a 3D Contra, a running gunner. It's more like that. Gamma can chain special attacks together to gain time. His levels are the only ones that are actually counted down for some reason. There's no reason for them to be timed that way at all, honestly. The levels are long enough to get from point A to point B in no time. Gamma's level format changes up the most though. In level 1, Final Egg, you're doing target practice. It's short but sweet. In level 2, Emerald Coast, where you're avoiding getting wet or too much sand in your circuits, you have to capture Froggy who is waiting at the close by section in the level. Wow, it feels like they should have swapped the level formats for both Amy and Gamma. Gamma's levels are too short, and Amy's levels are painfully long. In levels 3, 4, and 5, Gamma has to get through the level to meet a boss at the end of each. Destroy one of the E100 robots to complete the level? It's surprisingly streamlined. Anyway, Gamma has a mounted blaster which you can use to take out waves of enemies. You can float using a special floating device, and actually, if you run a long enough distance, you can partly transform into a tiny Kia car for some extra moving speed. It's a bit pointless, but it does help in certain areas, especially in the timed stages. Big's gameplay is... Do I really have to say anything? Look, no disrespect to anyone who likes the sport. I even tried it a couple of times myself and enjoyed it as a child. But if I wanted to play a game based around it, I would have played SEGA Bass Fishing, which is also on the Dreamcast. At least it can sort of be used as a weapon, but why? It wasn't really asked for. 4 levels of fishing! Capture Froggy just to release him into the world again. And the worst thing is, it doesn't even work well at some points. Look at Hot Shelter! Watch me getting frustrated with the fishing and the weird clipping of the fucking line.
Oops. What the... Why? No, fucking why? Why are these fishing stages so broken? This level's broken. How could they release this in the state? Why did they even bother releasing a fishing game like this? Again! Why? What's so fucking hard about this?
There is no reason for it to be this hard or frustrating. So anyway, there is definitely some real variety here, and the gameplay you prefer is really down to your preference and playing style. Some of you will find some gameplay styles easier than others. It's still weird to think that overall only half of the game can be considered majorly fun to play unless you're one of those people that enjoys most things, where some gameplay is mixed and one is so frustrating that it makes you hate the character and not care for the frog you're supposedly meant to serve.
In fact, you know what, actually, fuck this big, get the fuck out of my sight. Had enough of you for one day. Generally, controlling all the characters feels pretty good. Like, see, I'm controlling Sonic now. Everything feels really fluid, slick, and easy. All the controls are very mapped very easily. So again, there's no problem here. All the characters do feel appropriate. Like, some are faster than others, some are slower than others. I said this before, but you know, in terms of like you know, physics and controls, it's not perfect. I run into glitches here, there, and everywhere. The camera sometimes isn't a helper. Like, look there, I just died there. Perfect bit of visual there. That is not the perfect game graphically, but again, it's not anything majorly game breaking or ruining. You just have like those moments. Sometimes you just got to be careful, tight movements and everything. But again, it doesn't really feel like I'm doing anything majorly terrible here. It is just the way the game can be coded sometimes. But also, a lot of my ease of control really comes down to the Dreamcast controller itself. This is my favorite controller of all time. It is so comfortable, slick, it fits in your hands like a glove. All the buttons are in the right place here. The D-pad feels nice. Basically, it looks like a spaceship as well. This is the perfect video game controller. There is no other one like it, and it's a shame that Sega isn't doing consoles anymore, because I could see them making more amazing controllers like this again. Also, look, VMU cards. These are like little consoles themselves. How adorable is that?
The audio is what I would call sort of a coin. One side is more favorable than the other. Let me explain what I mean. In the case of the music is kick fucking ass. As I mentioned before, the music is handled by Jun Tsunui, and it's handled perfectly. Each level, hub world, extra segment, and even event songs, they all fit each environment and scenario really well, and makes this game so much more immersive. I mean, just listen to some of these samples. Each instrument is given a chance to shine here. Some of it is fast-paced, some of it is slow, but it still feels natural to the environment. I love it. My only regret is not going to the Sonic Adventure music experience. I hope they do another, that would be kick-ass. Some of the sound effects have been updated to fit the new 3D world, and all I can say is they all sound fine. There's not a whole lot you can say about them. They just sound pretty decent. As for the voice acting, well, it's good. The voice actors all did their best to work with what they had, especially Ryan Drummond, who stood out as the voice of Sonic and my personal favourite Sonic voice ever. I wish he'd come back, but after his dispute with Sega, I doubt that. Despite this though, not even he is immune to the lack of voice direction.
Alright, Tails! Way to go! Explain's cool!
That means his 2 to our 1, and that's not good. Come on, Sonic! We need to get busy! Sonic, look! The A carrier is losing altitude!
A for effort, C for execution, honestly. There's even moments where some of the voice samples are so low quality.
You know nothing, fool! It's Chaos, the god of destruction!
This is why studios exist. They have padding. Use it. So lastly, we come onto the graphics in terms of visual style. It looks neat. I mean, for a 6th generation era game, it fits the style of the time. Some have argued that visually and graphically it hasn't aged well at all. I disagree. I think Dreamcast games have an incredible level of charm that can't even be replicated by the GameCube re-release. Seriously, they screwed up everything in the later port. The lighting system is all wrong, the models, while they look very nice, are incredibly shiny, some of the textures are dense and lifeless, and the whole thing makes me just want to relegate back to an inferior version. Better graphics do not make a better game. and in the Dreamcast version, everything, while lower quality, is bright and vibrant, and it doesn't really matter to me whether or not they're smooth. They look just right for the first venture into 3D, and I'll even argue they have a bit of charm. Even if some of the faces look a bit wild, shall I say. Sometimes I wonder if Sonic Adventure took the wild animation inspiration from Crash, as Crash Bandicoot was once considered the Sonic's ass game. I guess we'll never know. I think SEGA really outdid themselves here. Sure, it's not perfect, but from everything displayed here, I think there's more than enough content to keep Sonic fans and newcomers entertained for years to come. Many have even said it still compares to the Sonic games released today as a trailblazer which set the standard for Sonic games to come. It's such a shame that people play the director's cut and slam the game as a whole for its shortcomings when they fail to look at the good. I urge anyone watching this to give the Dreamcast version a go. You'll end up loving it more, I reckon. You'll find yourself immersed in the madness. So what do I rate this game? Well, to sum up my reviews, I want to try my best at giving each game a rating from each separate ratings I give for each segment that I reviewed, and calculating them to one final score. And from my calculations and my brainwaves, I can tell you right now that this game has received a very well-deserved 7.3 out of 10.
What's up everybody, Phantom Brain here, and thank you so much for watching my first game review. If you liked it, please give this video a like. I'll be making a lot more, making them much better than ever, so please subscribe to my channel and hit the bell icon to never miss a video. And also, if you want to see me play some of the games that I review, then please follow my Twitch channel. I would really appreciate it. Until then, thanks for watching. This is Phantom Brain, and don't forget to think outside the box.